Okay, you're live, Chair Oslin.
Okay, great. Thank you, Christina. Welcome, everyone, and good evening. I'd like to call the Parks and Community Services Commission meeting of December 8th, 2021 to order. Let's start with item number 2, roll call. Christy.
Thank you. Before I take roll call, let me note for the record, Assembly Bill 361 suspends certain provisions of the Brown Act, allowing public meetings like this one to be held by teleconference to help prevent the spread of COVID-19. At this time, I will conduct roll call and afterwards confirm certain matters for the record. Commissioner Dorlick.
Present.
Commissioner Mitra.
Present.
Commissioner Lopez Lucy.
Present.
Commissioner Ellicott Pesic. Student Commissioner Thinamala. Vice Chair Keniston Lee.
Here.
Chair Oslin.
Present.
Thank you. Based on the responses to roll call, the record should reflect that all committee members can hear the proceedings clearly. If there are no objections, the record will further reflect that each committee member believes, based on voice or facial recognition or otherwise, that persons representing themselves to be a commission member are in fact commission members. Seeing no objection, I will turn the meeting back to the chair with a reminder that all votes must be taken by roll call. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. Moving on to item number 3, Pledge of Allegiance. Christy, will you please lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Moving on to item 4, special items and announcements. 4.1. We are recognizing the temporary employee of the month for November, Maria Borromeo, and we will hear a presentation given by Adam Chow, our Recreation Supervisor. Hi, Adam.
Hello, good evening, Chair Oslin and Commissioners. Thank you for having us here this evening. With me, I have Maria Borromeo. Thank you for being here, Maria. Appreciate it. We are recognizing Maria as our temporary employee of the month for November. And so Maria works with us as an office assistant and our frontline team. She's been with us since May, so just about 6 months now, a little more than 6 months. But in those 6 months, she's been able to learn a lot, and she is a quick learner. And that's one of the great things that we really appreciate about her. She's taken on a fantastic role with us, helping us out at the pools over the summer. She was definitely a key anchor point for us to be able to make sure that we had somebody that was very knowledgeable, trustworthy, and able to help out our staff and our customers all at the same time. And so she actually did a fantastic job there. Just making sure the customers were able to come in, go through the process for whether it's for lap swim, recreation swim, assisting those customers with a friendly smile, as you see, and always has the confidence to make sure that she knows how to be able to take care of things. So Maria did a great job. And in that process, she showed us that she had a lot more skills as well. And so we were able to move her to other sites, also at the Alcosta Senior and Community Center, and also the San Ramon Community Center as well, where her customer service skills have shined. As I mentioned, she's a quick learner. She really is. And she has been able to help us out in a number of different ways, not just at the pool, but because at our other counters, we're doing a lot more registrations, a lot more customer assistance, troubleshooting, a lot of those pieces. And Maria's done a fantastic job of being able to pick up those pieces. In fact, she's done a number of projects for me, which impressed me. And so we've actually asked her to be able to help out while Erica Valentine is out on maternity leave. And so Maria is actually helping out with our art galleries, keeping our artists organized, keeping our schedule organized, providing great communications. And she is doing a wonderful job to make sure that our department is presented in a positive manner and that the artists have a positive experience as they are showing in our galleries. And so Maria, for the next several months, will be helping us out on those pieces, helping the artists with their load-ins, load-outs, scheduling, site visits, all the things that our artists need to make sure that they have great gallery experience and showings at our 5 galleries. And so Maria has been a tremendous help. And so thank you, Maria, for that. And the last thing I just wanted to say about Maria is that she just has this can-do attitude. Is everything we ask her to do is always a yes. It's always a no problem. I'm happy to do it. And we really appreciate that, Maria. You're a great team player, and we really appreciate the role that you play with us. And so that's why we want to make sure that we recognize you for the Employee of the Month for November. So thank you.
Congratulations, Maria. What an honor. Would you like to say a few words to the commissioners?
Sure, yes. Working with the Parks Department has been such a gratifying experience, and going to work with people who genuinely take pride in what they do makes me want to do the best that I can. And so I really appreciate this acknowledgement of my efforts.
Congratulations. And I want you to know that you are, when you're at the front counter, you're the face of the community and you're visible and you're obviously making a wonderful impression, and your customer service skills are stellar. So keep it up. And I just also want to say thank you for your professionalism and for your can-do attitude too. We really appreciate you. Would any of the other commissioners like to say a few words, or are we good? Okay, great. Congratulations, Maria. We're really proud of you. Thank you for all your service. Item 4.2, special announcements. Kathy, do we have any special announcements for this evening?
I do have a couple of quick announcements. It is the holiday season, and Parks and Community Services name at this time of year is synonymous with holiday. So I just wanted to give you an update on what's been happening and what's still yet to happen. So I know some of you came out for our Bah Humbug run. It was very well attended with 619 people participating in the 5K, which is actually similar to pre-COVID years. So nice to have us back where we go. The big growth area was the Kids Dash, which pre-COVID had 50 people in it, and this year had 141 kids registered. So all in all, kids, dogs, seniors, athletes all came out to enjoy the run. Most notably, there were two gentlemen that were on vacation from England, and so they were hopping from run to run, and they chose our Bah Humbug. So really a fun event, and turned out great. Lots of feedback. We've already had people calling, asking for the date next year. So I know we're going to see that one even continue to grow. And then of note also, last weekend we had wreath making at the farm, our little fun on the farms on Saturdays. And normally on an average day, they get 50, maybe 75 or 100. They got 400 people for wreath making last weekend. So huge attendance. And then of course, we've got Holiday on the Farm coming up this weekend on Saturday, December 11th from 11 to 3. So make sure to fit that into your plans for this weekend if you can stop by. And then throughout this holiday season, I don't know if you've noticed, but as you drive by City Hall, you see all those beautifully lit holiday trees that were decorated by our foundations and other local nonprofits. So if you're around during the day, you can walk around inside. There are other really fun decorations. But if you can't make it during the day, you can stop by in the evening and look through the windows. So they're all visible, and there are signs that'll tell you who decorated each tree. So make sure you do that. There's also a mailbox in City Hall this year for Santa ladders. So we've got a direct line to Santa Claus himself. And so we're encouraging all the young people to get those letters and drop them in our box. You got to get them there a little ahead because Santa gets very busy right as we get up to the holidays. But I have it on good authority that he answers almost every single letter. So pass the word around. Right now, we looked in the box and we have 75 that we've received so far. Last year, we forwarded over 500 letters to Santa Claus to answer. So we think we may have a few more coming in.
Commissioner Dorlick, you better make your case now.
My case for naughty or my case for nice?
You
That's
are all
between you and-
nice.
That's between you and Santa.
Okay.
All right, two more announcements. You're all nice. The Community Chorus Holiday Magic Show is on Sunday, December 12th. That's really exciting that we get to return with that. And then we'll be ending out our holiday season of activities with our Symphonic Band Holiday Concert on Friday, December 17th. And if you haven't heard them play, you need to put that on your list of things to do. It's just one of those really wonderful concerts. So lots to do, lots to see. And that's it for now.
Wow, thank you, Kathy. Never a dull moment in our group, for sure. I'd like to move on to item 5, public comment or written communication. Do we have any public comment? Or Christy, I guess I will go ahead and fill this gap in here. At this time, those in the audience are encouraged to address the Parks and Community Services Commission on any item not already included in tonight's agenda. Members of the public who are participating via Zoom will have the opportunity to make comments to the Parks and Community Services Commission live through the Zoom application. Comments should not exceed 3 minutes. Do we have any public comment?
We have 10 in attendance, and we do have 1 public comment. But before we go into public comment, I would like to remind all speakers of the following guidelines for participation in this meeting. The chair may briefly interrupt your testimony in order to encourage compliance with these guidelines. So when you are speaking, it is important to keep these in mind. No profanity or obscenities. Refrain from personal threats or attacks. Respect all people. Refraining from hateful labeling or demeaning language based on hate of a person's race, religion, sexual orientation, ethnicity, gender, or disability. Respect all people that are present or watching. The chair, at their discretion, may remove any speaker from continuing public comment for the duration of the meeting for any of the following reasons: exceeding the allotted time to speak, yelling, screaming, or other behavior that renders the commission unable to continue the meeting, excessive profanity or slander, specific threats or fighting words that incite violence, speech that is outside the subject matter jurisdiction of the commission or the specific agenda item in which we're speaking. Thank you for listening to the guidelines, and I will now bring in the speaker.
Hello.
Natalie, you're allowed to talk.
Okay, hi, my name's Natalie, and I have had the pleasure of volunteering at Crow Canyon Garden this past year. It has been a lot of fun and very rewarding, and I've gotten a lot of comments from community members, thanking me for my service. The park provided over 1,500 pounds of fruit to a food charity called White Pony Express in Pleasant Hill, and that fruit drove in my car many trips over the months to get apples and pears and peaches and berries and all sorts of stuff to people who really needed it. And there is progress being made, which people are really getting excited about. And, that park is a hot spot for photography. It's a hot spot for bird watchers, people who are interested in agriculture. And I get to see familiar faces over and over again. There's quite a few regulars to the park who like coming to see, what is new. On the flip side of that, I also hear frustration, which I personally share, that improvements aren't being made fast enough. And for next year, 2021, I was hoping there would be a way to get a full-time staff member at the park, or a quasi full-time, I don't know how many days quasi counts for, but to have someone there a little bit more often to help coordinate park improvements and to help recruit more volunteers. They're always fighting the grass and fighting the weeds that want to take back all the progress. You move a foot in one direction and nature wants to take back and reclaim, take away from that progress. So I was hoping that there could be a way to help the volunteer program run a little bit more smoothly, because there have been some hiccups this year, and I don't want to go into details because I don't feel this is the appropriate place to go into such details. But as a volunteer and as someone who enjoys the park, there needs to be someone there more often to help out, to coordinate things, to organize things, and to help guide things a little bit more smoother. But I do ask people go check out the park and see what improvements have you made. And thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Natalie, for your public comment. Do we have any other public comment, Christy, in the audience?
We actually do have one more speaker. It will be, let me share that screen again. Call in user 1, you're allowed to talk.
Hello?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, can you hear me? Okay, so I believe our city is having budget issues because of the pandemic. Our revenues are down. And if we already have a volunteer program, I'm not sure why we have to spend money to get a coordinator. If we spend money to get a coordinator, then I'm not sure why there needs, we get volunteers so that we don't have to spend money, right? So I'm not sure I understand why. And also sometimes too many volunteers, I feel as a resident that there is no equity, because now my freedom and my accessibility to use the parks that I pay for, I should be enjoying, but now I'm like condescending and deferring to these quote unquote volunteers. And if the previous speaker thinks that there isn't, enough people taking care of things, it appears that there could be conflicts, or I don't know. After hearing this speaker, I actually feel, is it dangerous in our parks? Is something wrong with our parks? I don't understand. Maybe I should go check out our parks. I'm not sure what's going on, but it doesn't sound good. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment. Christy, do we have anyone else in the audience who would like to make a public comment under item
No, we do
5?
not.
Do we have any written public comment that needs to be read?
No, we do not.
I will close public comment, item 5, and moving on to item number 6, approval of minutes. Parks and Community Services Commission regular meeting, November 10th, 2021. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? Do I have a motion to approve?
I move that we accept the November 10th, 2021 minutes as presented.
Do I
Second,
have a second?
second,
Great, and we will take a roll call. Commissioner Dorlick,
yes.
Commissioner Mitra,
Approve.
Commissioner Lopez Lucy,
Yes.
Vice Chair Keniston Lee,
Aye.
and Chair Oslin.
Aye.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 7, consent calendar. Do we have any items for the consent calendar?
No, we do not.
Thank you, Christy. Item 8, commission business. 8.1, Scarecrow Scavenger Hunt. Kathy Hyman would like to introduce the presentation, and we will receive a presentation by Kathy Schiller, our office technician.
Yes, I'm thrilled actually to bring this group forward to give this report to you. I know I've mentioned this before, but in the Parks and Community Services Department, we put together special teams when we've got these projects that are a little bit out of the norm of our different areas. And so what we try and do is give staff who might not have access to do some of these programs opportunities to do stretch assignments, to work a little bit on different programs, to work with different people, to kind of broaden their horizons, and also to achieve the goal. And in this particular case, we put the Scarecrow Scavenger Hunt team together during COVID, and I'm going to let Kathy tell you the whole story. But I'm just really, really proud of all of them for what they've achieved for the last couple of years. And when you look at it, you look at the presentation, you'll really get a sense of that. So I think Kathy's going to give the presentation, but the other members are here as well, or at least a couple of them. So hopefully you can all turn your cameras on now. There we go. And Kathy, you can take it away.
Hey, thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me here. I'm pleased to present the Scarecrow Scavenger Hunt for evaluation and feedback, and ultimately to recommend the continuation of the program next year. First, I would like to introduce the most amazing Scarecrow Scavenger Hunt team, Ree Thomas and Travis Russi. They are both with us this evening, and Amanda Tugwell, equally as important, but she was not able to attend this evening. And I don't know if they're on there, but we do have our PowerPoint on. So I'll just get busy on that. So the Scarecrow Scavenger Hunt, and we can go to the next slide, was developed by Parks and Community Services staff in 2020 in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. And actually on that slide, you see Travis, Amanda, and me. Ree must have been hiding. And we'll go to the next slide. She was busy building all of those scarecrows. So it was just developed in 2020 in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Our wish was to provide a free and fun and socially distanced outside activity for our community. People were locked up inside, and we wanted to give people the opportunity to get out and just be joyful with some of our scarecrows. And it was also very important to us at all times to follow the health department guidelines for social distancing. The basic concept was to have businesses, city departments, and local nonprofits submit scarecrows that would be placed throughout Central Park. And the nice thing was is that our hope was, and I think this happened, the community could go out at any time to hunt for the scarecrows. And we'll go to the next slide. Really important in presenting this was we had a goose chase app that was used to provide clues to the scarecrow location, but it also gave an interactive element so that people could share their responses on social media. And next slide. The Goose Chase app was utilized to provide clues to locations, and the hunt was held for approximately 10 days in 2020. In 2020, we had a fabulous outcome. We had 261 teams made up of families, youth groups, and friend groups that participated and used the app, and they collectively submitted 365 posts to the app as they engaged and participated in the challenges and clues. An example of some of these challenges would be to either act out. We had Cousin It last year, and so people were requested to sing the Addams Family song with the snapping and everything like that. One of my favorites was the fire department's fire dog, and their challenge was to do the stop, drop, and roll and record that. So there was just a lot of fun and a lot of activity associated with the scarecrows. Many people chose not to use the app, but we certainly saw a lot of people in the park enjoying the scarecrows throughout those 10 days. All ages and abilities were observed interacting with the scarecrows. Especially, it was just very fun to see the little kids get very excited seeing some of the scarecrows out there. We also had members of the Parks Commission judge the entries, and ribbons and certificates were awarded to the winners in each category. This is an example of what people saw on the Goose Chase app. It was easily downloadable. We had the game code on signage and on social media, and we had no problems with people using the app and downloading the app. And it was just very easy for people to use. And we'll go to the next screen. Okay, so due to the popularity in 2020, we chose to continue the program in 2021. While it was still very popular, it didn't attract as many people as it did last year. And I guess the thing I would like to say about that is that even though the Goose Chase app didn't have a lot of activity, we did observe a lot of people in the park visiting and walking through and looking at all the scarecrows. So the next screen is going to be some comparison numbers. As far as grand total of entries, we were pretty close this year to last year. We did have one additional submission of scarecrows. And business entries, nonprofit entries, school and youth. So pretty much the same numbers, but just sort of spread out through different departments and businesses. Again, the number of teams created or used the Goose Chase app for last year, 2020, was 261, and this year it was 150. The number of engagements with the apps or missions completed in 2020 would have been 3,565, and this year was 1,524. One thing, and we'll go to the next slide, that we did add this year was we were able to obtain sponsorships. Some of the challenges and opportunities in 2021, record-breaking rain. The first Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of this event, there was torrential rain, and that did stop people from coming out, but also created some damage to our beautiful scarecrows that were happily but needed to be repaired by our staff. Middle school kids are back in session, and they had a tendency to create some damage on our scarecrows that were located on the walking path from their school to home or through the library. Most notably, the poor Darth Vader mask and the ballerina crown were either stolen or destroyed multiple times. An addition to this year was we had a great time cutting out themed silhouettes to add to the windows, which when backlit added an additional, I guess, charm to the Scarecrow scavenger hunt. So that was a lot of fun. One of my personal favorites was the floating pumpkins, and you can see the picture. It was absolutely gorgeous in the evenings. And that was just something that we look forward to bringing back. And then if you look also on the screen, we have the Have You Seen This Wizard? That was a frameable, Instagrammable location that was sponsored by Patelco. And we had a lot of people holding up the sign with their face acting like Harry Potter, or actually Sirius Black in the Harry Potter series. And we'll go to the next screen. So we were really pleased and excited to obtain a few sponsorships this year, most notably Patelco, the Alameda County Industries, and the San Ramon Arts Foundation. And for a cumulative total, we brought in $1,200 in sponsorship funds this year. Those funds did cover the direct costs of the supplies and the app, but did not cover staff costs. The program is very time intensive for staff, both prior to the event in the efforts of soliciting participation and sponsorship, setting up the actual hunt, and then maintaining and repairing it. The estimate cost of full-time staff spent on the program was 110 hours, which roughly equates to about $10,505. We would like to recommend the continuation in 2022, but we would like to make some recommendations for change. We would like to open up the opportunity to the public, to the community, to submit scarecrows, and we would like to include youth groups, families, and individuals. This next year, we would like to develop specific categories and themes and awards to encourage creativity and the variety in the scarecrows that we receive. We would like to tighten up the specifications for what size and materials can be submitted, and this would be so that we could standardize how they are secured throughout the park. We certainly plan to avoid displaying scarecrows on the main pathways, especially those used by our middle school students. One thing we would look forward to is possibly the addition of a small child hay bale maze on the back terrace patio. And we would use, as the children are using the maze, we would use the interior area to discourage vandalism. We would use the use of this space would potentially affect the desirability of rentals for the terrace room. However, if there are a large number of scarecrows submitted, as we would hope, it would provide a solid area to secure scarecrows. Next year, we would like to utilize the Goose Chase app for a portion of most unique scarecrows. So we wouldn't, I certainly hope to get more than 25 scarecrows in there, but we wouldn't include more than possibly that in the app. And the goal would be to accomplish the whole hunt in about an hour. And then for those people who prefer not to download the app, we would like to either have downloadable or printable maps accessible to those people who would like to visit our scarecrows, but not necessarily complete the game aspect of it in an app. And we have some lovely photos here of some of our staff and also some Girl Scout troops participating in the Scarecrow scavenger hunt. And are there any questions or feedback?
Thank you so much, Kathy and team, for pulling off this fun event. Before we open it up to the commissioners, I'd like to have the opportunity for public comment. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to make a public comment, Christy?
No, there's not.
So I'd like to open it up to the.
There actually is one now. So I will take a moment to bring up my timer. 1 moment, please. Okay, call in user number 1. You may speak.
We'll keep to the topic.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. We'd like to keep to the topic of the Scarecrow scavenger hunt.
Yes, that's what I intend to do.
Great.
Did I hear that there was vandalism? And if there was it overnight or was it during? And was anyone hurt? Was there any security issues? Thank you.
We'll close the public comment. Do we have, unless we have anyone else, Christy?
No, we do not.
Okay, I'd like to open it up to the commissioners for comments, feedback. And I'd like to start with Commissioner Mitra.
Hello, Kathy and everybody. So I had a great opportunity to judge the Scarecrow this time with Commissioner Lopez Lucy and as well as Commissioner Canestrelli. What a pleasure, I must say. I was walking through that and it was almost hour and a half, but walking through that, it just said, Kathy, you and your staff have put so much effort to make it happen. And I'm sure you do that every year. And this year was especially challenging, and also as well as last year as well with all this COVID and everything going on. So just to say thank you for that. And it was a really, really pleasure time when I was walking through. So thank you.
Great. Commissioner Canestrelli.
Thank you. So first, I'm sure I join all of my fellow commissioners in saying, Kathy and team, you guys did a great job. You will have noticed, everyone, that the hiking scarecrow, who was the crow, was our contribution. So if you didn't get to see it, it's in the pictures of the staff report. And having brought the scarecrow over there, I saw just how busy Kathy and her team were getting things ready and repairing things and all those good things. So great job to them. I love this program. I know it's easy to contemplate not continuing when you experience things like vandalism, but I love anytime we can use our community centers as hubs for community celebration. I think that's amazing. I'm very committed to this program, and I think I'm happy to see that staff has been very thorough and very creative in coming up with recommendations that allow us to continue with this program. I'm fine with all the recommendations. I want us to continue to look at ways to mitigate the challenges. I'm wondering if there's a way, and perhaps we did address this, to communicate, work with the Iron Horse community to give parents and folks a heads up that this is coming up and that we're not going to tolerate any vandalism. I think sometimes being proactive and communicating can get you the right results, that there might be penalties for doing that. But I love seeing people of all ages, little ones to grandparents, walking through and looking at the scarecrows. And I think this is something that we should continue. And so thanks to everybody who worked on it. And I look forward to next year And we'll have to think of another creative commission contribution. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Dorlick.
Great, thank you, Kathy. Great job. While I don't condone vandalism, I understand the Darth Vader, but the ballerina, I just don't get that one. You mentioned the number of teams were down from above 200 to about 150. Were the actual number of participants? Do we track the number of participants? So I didn't see total participants on that that analysis of year to year. So were the participants equal, and maybe the teams just, formed in a different phase, a different number?
No, the number of participants were down. That would be the family teams. We believe they were down for a couple of reasons. School is back in now. And so that midday where parents were possibly trying to get kids out of the house last year, we didn't really have that opportunity this year. So they were down, but we strongly feel that the number of people that were out just visiting the Scarecrows and enjoying the Scarecrows was as much as last year. I just feel like that the participation on the app was down, partially because of the rain took out that, solid 3 days. But, the number of people visiting the Scarecrows we felt was very close to last year when they were actually able to be visited.
Okay, so these numbers that you have in the report are just the official teams, not, total participants, for example, that, just came to the park to enjoy it,
Right.
Walk through the park, et cetera. Okay.
Yeah, we have no way of really tracking that. Our trackable numbers would have come through the Goose Chase app. So the rest of it is more of a visual thing, and then just verbal feedback from people coming in or people that we met along the way in the park.
All right, great, excellent. Yeah, I would agree. It seems like it's a fun activity, and it's both participation as well as with the families, with art, a little competition. Seems like a good program to continue, and the costs are not that great. So the total costs are under $15,000 with full-time equivalency. So with FTE costs plus materials, we're still under $15,000. Okay, all right. Obviously, Chevron is on the way out, so Patelco is filling some of the gaps, huh?
Commissioner Lopez Lucy.
Thank you. Well, I was too one of the judges, and I think for the participation of every one of you that set this up and did the great duties of this, but I had as much fun probably going through judging the Scarecrows as anybody that was just going to go through it. And I think anytime that we can do something like that, this is fun, and get families and children and adults out to the parks, I think that's a great asset for us to involve our community in the projects that we do. So I'm very supportive of it. And I think that it will help with your recommendations that you've made, that we can cut down on vandalism and have some little bit more you said, we have explanations and we put it into different categories. I think that might help. And so we just have to promote in our community for safety and to enjoy, so that we don't destroy the things that everybody can enjoy. So I'm for it, and I think it's a good program. So I want to thank you again for your participation and what you did. And I think you all had a good time doing it also, and that's what's fun. So thank you.
Great. Well, I unfortunately missed the event. I was out of town, but I've heard such positive feedback from the fellow commissioners and from neighbors. I think it is I totally wholeheartedly agree with what all the commissioners have said. It's a great family event. I also like the recommendations that you've put forward to try to mitigate some of the vandalism and to open it up to more participants. So, at this point, I think what you're looking for is a recommendation to continue with the recommendations that you've made in 2022. So do I have a motion from one of the
So
commissioners?
moved. So moved.
Second.
Okay,
Okay, so we will take roll call. Commissioner Dorlick,
Yes.
Commissioner Mitra,
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez Lucy,
Yes.
Vice Chair Keniston Lee,
Aye.
and Chair Oslin.
aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, hard.
Great job.
Yeah, great job.
Mhm.
Okay, moving on to item 8.2, commission business. We're going to receive a presentation of the Giraffes San Ramon Walking District Plan, Vision, Goals, and Guidelines. And Kathy, did you want to introduce our speaker for the evening, Stephanie Grigsby?
I do, and I believe Christy can bring her in. But I'm very pleased to introduce, or maybe really what it is reintroduce Stephanie Grigsby to you all. She's a principal with Design Workshop. And as you know, Design Workshop, and very specifically Stephanie, were the driving force between our parks, trails, open space, and recreation master plan that we spent a couple years working on. And after we were done with that, of course, she did such a great job, and Design Workshop was so wonderful to work with that they came over and started helping us with our walking district plan. And so Stephanie's got a great PowerPoint and a lot of information. I know that was pretty dense, so hopefully you got a chance to read through it. But I'm just, like I said, thrilled to introduce Stephanie and hand it off to her to talk about where we're at now. Stephanie? There you are.
Yeah.
There I am. I got the circle of circle.
Hi, Stephanie, welcome.
Thank you,
Nice to see
Commissioner
you.
Oslin. Yes, nice to see you all as well. And I think Kathy was introducing me as I was coming in and out. So just thank you for your time this evening. It is nice to see many of you again, some familiar faces across the screens. I'm Stephanie Grigsby. I'm a principal with Design Workshop. And as Kathy said, I'm going to share my screen and provide an overview of the Walking District Master Plan with the vision, goals, and guidelines, and be able to answer some questions. As just a little bit of background, the development of the Walking District Plan really had its origins from a grassroots effort, which some of you and some of your previous commissioners participated in, to think about creating a more pedestrian focused community. That led to the City Council, as part of their fiscal year 2020 goals, to develop a priority to explore development of a walking district with community partners that would really support the emphasis on housing in the city core, and thinking about the walkability within that area. So that area was really focused, between Executive Parkway, Bollinger Canyon Road, Alcosta Boulevard to Central Park, and west to I-680. As part of the city's parks, trails, open space, and recreation master plan, we heard that desire as well, and identified a high priority goal to develop a framework plan for the walking district in this city core area. This plan that I'll provide an overview for you tonight expands upon that concept. So we broadened the project area to include what is shown in blue on the screen before me, and thinking about how we can provide long-term pedestrian connectivity within this area from Crow Canyon Road to past south of Bollinger Canyon Road, and then east-west from Alcosta Boulevard to I-680. And that it really would be an amenity for all residents, both those that live in the area currently, those who might live in the area in the future, and then the broader community at large. The process also built upon the good work that the grassroots community had done, and then took that work and then started by having a series of focus group interviews and expanding the conversation to include East Bay Regional Parks District. We spoke with additional city staff members from different departments within the city to the county. We had a focus group meeting specifically with members from the Walking District Committee, and then also private property owners within the area. We then brought those groups all together after having individual conversations as part of a work session, a virtual work session, and then from there brought those ideas and the things that we had heard as part of those work sessions with the stakeholders to as part of a larger virtual public meeting. And in this initial data gathering opportunities discussion, we were really thinking about the gyms, the destinations, what were the issues and barriers to walkability within this zone, and then where we really want to link up and what those opportunities were. We then developed a series of draft recommendations, reviewed those with the city staff and the stakeholders again, held another virtual work session and another virtual public meeting to get feedback on the framework and the network of the walking district that I'll present tonight, some of the routes and ideas on logo theming and signage. We then began to document the plan and then went through a series of iterations with both city staff and the Walking District Committee to just refine and refine and refine and listen to, how we might want to really express the concepts that were being presented to us. So through those conversations, again, we really thought about refining and confirming both the vision that the grassroots committee had developed and the goals as well, which are presented on the right here in the 6 goals. Those goals really ranged from, improving comfort, thinking about shade, seating, to really improving connectivity and linking those destinations, both civic, recreation, and commercial destinations, providing enhanced wayfinding to let people know routes and how to get around those routes. Again, thinking about that long-term vision and just really improving the sense of place. I'm coming back to number 2 because that's the graphic that you see on the left, which is identifying those walking and biking loops and routes. The image that you see on the left indicates the first route that had been envisioned by the Walking District, that grassroots committee. It's identified in red. It starts in Central Park and works its way west across Iron Horse Trail to connect to the lakes around Bishop Ranch. We built upon those ideas in terms of thinking about those loops and routes to identify what other loops people might take and how they might be organized and potentially programmed by the city. So we start here again in Central Park to the east, shown in green, and the route shown in sort of orangey yellow is a route that links up Story Walk and connects a little bit further to the north and loops down, and then a loop around Central Park. Also orienting you to this graphic too, within the central part of the diagram, you see Bishop Ranch, BR 2600 with these red dashed lines across the buildings. Those indicate, as I flip to the next slide, opportunities and pathways that have been identified as part of the City Walk design guidelines, an approved plan through the city that says that those connections would be maintained open through those buildings when the building is open, so that those could provide some connectivity through. The other thing about thinking about the connections with the loops and the routes was really looking at ways to enhance these connections, again, from Central Park to the west, so we create a little bit more seamless transition and help people both visually see that the Iron Horse Trail is there when you're in Central Park, and that you also have a little bit more of a visual draw to connect over, so enhancing those through bridges and just opening up the landscape a little bit. Also indicated on this diagram in a bit narrower, sort of peachy dotted dashed line color are mid-block crossings. So as part of the City Walk design guidelines, they've identified as part of future development that there would also be these intermediate mid-block crossings as well to help future connections and exploration occur as well. The next loop that we identified is shown in blue. We're calling this the Lakes Loop. This really builds upon that initial red line that we looked at just a minute ago. The one change that we did suggest as part of this is instead of bringing the route through BR3 and through the parking lot, that we're suggesting enhancing again those connections to the north at the Public Transit Center and then to the south at Bishop Drive, and connecting across those routes and then connecting around the lakes. And really that the purpose of that was to avoid as much as possible conflicts between people walking through and sort of making their way through a parking lot, and trying to give them a bit more defined route to follow. But that doesn't mean that people couldn't do that themselves. If they wanted to take a little bit different route through there, that they would be able to do that as well. The next loop is the City Walk, we're calling City Walk Loop. This connects around Executive Parkway, around Bishop Drive, and really is just a bit more of a little longer loop, but still has lower traffic volumes as you're connecting across Executive Parkway and Bishop Drive. And then if you're interested in a little bit more of a fitness route, there's the opportunity to expand a larger route and connect up to Norris Canyon Road and then around Bishop Drive. And then the final loop that we had identified really takes advantage of the Iron Horse Trail, thinking about connecting up to Crow Canyon Road and back along Camino Ramon. And again, putting them all together, that there's really this opportunity to mix and match. We've identified, a number of different loops and routes here. The city could program and really market a different variety of routes. And again, thinking about exploration and just trying to get people to find new things and be able to visit all the gems that are in this city and this part of town. In conjunction with those routes, signage and branding was also identified as being very important. So we went through a bit of a branding process with both the stakeholders, and then also got input from the broader community on the idea of what does the brand want to be for the walking district. And from those conversations, we also began to expand and think a little bit broader beyond a walking district to really a sense of a lifestyle of Walk San Ramon that could be applied both within this project area, but it could also be applied within the broader community to really encourage walking as a lifestyle choice. So the concepts that you see on the left, we had 4 concepts, thinking about what that might express, the words and the expression that had been described from the stakeholders was that, the walking district is playful, it's clean, it's timeless, it balances urban and natural, it balances the past and the future, that it's connected and beautiful, it's fun, vibrant, dynamic, community-oriented, iconic, and social. So all of those ideas, thinking about layering together that, you could have this brand that gets incorporated into signage, it could get incorporated into different marketing and programming materials, and in a layered way as well. So on the right, you see some of the existing signage in the project area, and how the branding and signage concepts could really just be layered in on existing as part of existing brands for some of the private owners and property owners, but it also could be standalone signage as well. From there, we looked at where those signs might occur and identified 3 different layers of signage. So when you think about being able to make your way through a system, in the blue are orientation or informational signs. So as you find places to enter the walking district where you can have a map, you can understand where the routes are and how to get from A to B. In red, you see decision points. So those are the turns where you might want to say, I want to go to the left or to the right. And then in purple, you see areas where you're confirming, where you might just reaffirm some of the brand and the logo that you're within this special place. Those signs could occur independently on mile markers and kiosks. It could be part of an app program embedded in paving, or as on the previous slide, it could be layered as part of other signs and existing signs within the walking district. We also looked at some of the supporting amenities to, again, think about bringing life and excitement to this area. So we heard a lot about, the need for seating, the opportunities for drinking fountains, which are shown in the purple dots, opportunities for public art, which are shown in the blue dots, and then opportunities for restrooms, which are shown in the green dots. So again, looking at opportunities again to provide some seating in a more regular pattern, And then drinking fountains and restrooms would likely be associated with future parks and existing parks where they're a bit more part of the regular maintenance program. And then public art, we've identified some opportunities here, but recognize that that is really an opportunity that has, a large, could really occur in many different areas. And the final locations would really be determined as those opportunities present themselves. So one of the things as we were really diving into some of the opportunities to think about how this comes to fruition is taking a step back and understanding, the role of public-private ownership within this project area. So in this graphic on the left, you see in the pink shade, the private ownership areas. And in the green, you can see Central Park, which the city owns. There's also the Iron Horse Trail, which is county owned and managed by East Bay Regional Parks District. And then there's also the right-of-way area as well, which has city ownership. Of note too, is that in certain places where you might be associating a walkway, sometimes that walkway might actually be on private property and not within the city right-of-way. And what that means is just that there is some limitation to what the city has specific responsibility for and purview for. And it really brings to mind the importance of, public and private partnerships, and then also aligning and working with private development within this area in order to be able to realize some of the vision and the goals and really implement the guidelines. So from there, we looked at really aligning with some of the approved plans, which you see in the graphic on the right, which is an image from the City Walk design guidelines, where as part of that project, they really were trying to lead the way in thinking about walkability and developed a system of parkways, which are, again, widened facilities and walkways for people to walk under shaded tree canopies. And so we were picking up on those ideas as well. There are some projects that the city could move forward with independently that have been identified in the plan, such as, implementing the signage, thinking about programming, and really thinking about, where we might be able to add seating and shade within the city right away, or working with the East Bay Regional Parks District. And of note too, the project that's underway currently with the trail crossing of Bollinger Canyon Road for Iron Horse Trail, which is incredibly important. So as we think about applying those guidelines and how to implement, we've developed a system or a network of different trail classifications or walkway classifications that you could describe them as. Those 6 classifications or categories are organized on the right, ranging from the Iron Horse Regional Trail to the City Walk Parkways, primary connectors, secondary connectors, primary recreation paths, and secondary recreation paths. So the piece about this diagram is, number one, that it's diagrammatic. So it's really trying to convey 2 things. And the classification system is trying to convey 2 things. Number one, the general location of the walkways, whether they are located in or around a road corridor and that type of situation, or 2, are they located outside of a road corridor in more of a park area or a plaza area, and those are called the recreation paths. So those 2 general locations, and then also what the anticipated level of use might be. So City Walk Parkways and primary connectors and those primary recreation paths are those types of facilities that are located in areas that will likely have higher use, and because of that want to have a wider facility so that more people could walk side by side and easily pass and just make a bit more of a comfortable experience. And then the secondary paths really want to try and make those secondary linkages to, again, make sure that we don't have any gaps or missing sections within the system. But because of currently lower uses, they might be a little bit more narrow than the primary connectors. The other thing to mention as part of this graphic is at this scale, everything looks very linear. There would be opportunities which would be expressed as part of the sections, which I'll review in just a minute, as we have available space, that those paths might pull off the roadway a bit more than other places and meander a little bit more. You might be familiar with along Camino Ramon in front of BR 2600, where that does occur currently, that the pathway does pull off and sort of pull into the trees. That is the ideal goal. where we have this space, it would be working with development to be able to try and make that happen. So as we envision this area, we'll start with the Iron Horse Trail enhancements. These recommended improvements really align with the East Bay Regional Parks District Iron Horse Trail Corridor Study. And within this section in particular, they actually recommend separating the uses. So you would have a 14-foot wide, what they're calling rolling paths, where you'd have bikes, scooters, etc. And then you'd have a separated landscape area and then a separated walking space. So 6 to 8 feet for runners and walkers, just to be able to divide those uses and provide more capacity. We also look at providing shade and seating where possible, enhancing those trail connections, and then also really of importance, those overcrossings at Bollinger and Crow Canyon. So looking at an enlarged section of the Iron Horse Trail from Executive Parkway to Bollinger Canyon Road, we'll start on the right here where you see the Iron Horse Trail overcrossing in sort of a red-orange bar coming across, coming to what we're calling a bike roundabout that will open up and really help to enhance that connection between Central Park and Bishop Ranch and Sunset. And then the green space here shows the separation of those uses. And then again, really enhancing the connections from Central Park to the west. In red dots, you see the opportunities for seating and benches, and again, just the opportunities to really enhance a great trail system that you have today. That can be envisioned as the image that you see here, where you again have those separated uses, the opportunity for shade and the opportunity for seating, and then potentially the opportunity for branding and signage as well. This image represents that bike roundabout that I mentioned. So just as you're coming off the proposed and future overpass from Bollinger Canyon Road, being able to help slow bikes as they come in, enhancing and opening up a little bit wider bridge into Central Park. And again, just visually helping to make that connection as well. The City Walk parkways that have been identified are those that, again, align with the City Walk design guidelines. And we picked up that terminology as part of those. They are shown in location in the lower right in orange yellow. So just around the R2600 area. And then in the section that you see at the top of the screen, you can see those walking corridors where really it's envisioned as part of the City Walk plan to provide larger shared use paths and really these landscape corridors where you have a sidewalk along future residential area and then a shared use path and really within this larger landscape buffer. And then on the east of Camino Ramon, again, providing a sidewalk that's separated from the roadway and a bit of landscaping. Primary connectors are the third organizational element of our network. Again, these really align and are very similar to the parkways in terms of the guidelines and what we're trying to achieve. The primary difference is that they are not within the City Walk master plan area. They're outside of that. So we refer to them as primary connectors. But really the idea is that we're trying to achieve that same thing, that it's really where possible, it's a walking corridor that is a bit more generous in space for paved area and then really is set back from the road and has a nice tree canopy associated with it. The locations of those primary connectors are shown in the bottom right in dark blue. Again, these are areas where we're really trying to have really primary connections in terms of linking up the network, and so might have a little bit higher use. And then in the graphic at the top of the screen, you can see this is an existing section of Norris Canyon Road where we've laid over top what the proposed improvements might look like, where on the left side or on the north side of the road, we're separating the existing walkway from the road. We're shifting it over, trying to capture some landscape separation between where you might get some street trees. And then on the south side of the road, actually providing a sidewalk, but again, separating it from the roadway as well. Our next category of pathways are secondary connectors. These connectors really are, again, helping to make the broader linkages between destinations, because these connections currently aren't anticipated to have high levels of activation or really high concentration of destinations around them. They're be identified as being 5 to 8 feet in width, but again, trying to make them a bit more comfortable, setting them back from the roadway where possible and providing a landscape buffer. The areas that we're identified for those secondary connectors are shown in light blue in the lower bottom right-hand corner. And again, in the upper portion of this slide, you can see how that might be applied to the northern section of San Ramon or Camino Ramon, where we're separating them from the roadway with a bit of landscape. And also as part of these, we're really still trying to make them, think about a width that is still comfortable for 2 people to walk side by side. And then in certain instances, an 8-foot width would then also make it really comfortable for a third person to pass fairly easily. Our next series of elements and organization strategies are called primary recreation connectors, and then we'll go on to secondary recreation connectors. These again are walkways that are within parks or plazas, and again are areas where they're internal to recreation and amenity zones. The primary recreation connectors would accommodate higher use volumes, and so therefore are a little bit wider and would have a few more amenities, such as the pathways around the lakes or through parks. And then finally, the secondary recreation connectors that are really still vital in terms of providing those connection linkages, but because they might have, again, a little bit lower use levels, don't need to be as wide, but want to feel, a bit more intimate as you're walking through the park. But finally, most importantly, as all of the projects move forward and as any improvements occur, the plan sets forth a series of design objectives, and those design objectives or guidelines are really organized around these elements of walkability and principles of walkability. So this is sort of the filter that you would look at in terms of reviewing projects. The first that each walkway really you want to make sure that people have a reason to walk. So in that sense, you want them to be direct. You want to provide convenient locations and to desired destinations. And you want to make sure that the routes and loops really are designed to encourage walking for either physical or mental fitness. Second, that they're safe. So you want them to reduce conflicts between pedestrians and vehicles and other mobility modes. So you want to make sure that your crossings across streets are narrow where possible and that you're really trying to separate those uses. They want to be traversable. So that means that you want people to easily be able to move from place to place without obstacles. So, paved, accessible materials, thinking about, what those might look like, and slopes are really important. You want them to be comfortable. You want to encourage really walking by providing amenities. So thinking about benches, you want to think about shade, and then layering them with other transportation strategies. So how they connect to transit stops, how they connect to, bike facilities and other routes, so that you can really think about accessing this area without a vehicle, but then it also can connect up to those parking destinations too. And finally, that it's interesting, and we heard a lot about this through the stakeholders and through the public as well, but as part of the system, that we want to make sure that they engage a person's attention and really help and make it desirable for people to explore and linger, and that they're enticing, so that the physical design, the layout of the walking surfaces, the layout really are attractive and really engaging, and make people really want to be able to explore a little bit more. So that is a fairly brief overview. Thank you for bearing with me this evening and allowing me the opportunity to present. And now I will turn it back over to you, and I'll be here and available to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Beautiful presentation and great details. Before we open to public comment, I just want to ask the commissioners if you have any clarifying questions for Stephanie. I'm saying no. So let's open up public comment. Christy, do we have anyone in the audience? Excuse me. We have a clarifying question here from Commissioner Dorlick. You're on mute. You're on mute. Mute.
I shouldn't be.
There you go.
Okay. There wasn't any timelines or timeframes that were in the project. And obviously there's stages that we'd be looking at, not just from, practical standpoint, but, we do have Toyota, we do have Chevron, still, corporate entities within the area. So is it really focused on that core City Walk area first between Executive and Bollinger, and now Costa, primarily the Iron Horse Trail and 680, and then looking at possible expansion beyond past Executive Parkway? I mean, is that really I didn't see any timeframes, any even just estimates of a 2 to 3 year and a 3 to 5 year type of scenario.
Yes, and I think that's a good comment for us to think about as we, capture the comments from the different commissioners. A major reason for that is because of the division of ownership. So the city really doesn't have the purview to, have a developer move a project, advance a project. So those timelines would be on per the private developer's own timeline. But we could look at those projects that the city might lead, or that the city might be able to partner with, other private entities or even other public entities, such as along the Iron Horse Trail, about thinking about what the timeline might be for those.
Okay, so I mean, that's why I'm seeing that kind of like that basic loop. I mean, there's economic reasons for private industry to, move that along, and it's also the easiest to facilitate for the city to move along because a lot of the infrastructure is already there. So yeah, that was just, there was any kind of timeline that was introduced just to give us some framework and some expectations.
That's great. And that is one of the reasons that we were also trying to align with known approved projects as well, to think about what was achievable.
Okay, super. Thank you.
Right.
I have a clarifying question, Stephanie.
Yeah.
Who is going to be leading this master plan?
That is a question that came up last night too, and is a good comment for us to consider moving forward about who owns it. So I think we can capture that. Kathy, do you have any other thoughts on that? But I thought it was a good comment from the commissioners yesterday evening, and we could capture it moving forward too.
Absolutely. Well, I think because the plan dovetails with our Parks and Trails and master plan, specifically as it relates to shade seating on the Iron Horse Trail, signage, that's all mentioned in our master plan. How do you get people from the park over to other areas to know that the Iron Horse Trail is there? So there are some pieces of that are very essential to our master plan that are already timelined out and in there. So those pieces for sure Parks and Community Services would be involved with. But it is a great comment in regards to how the planning, really it's kind of, community development and Parks and Community Services, because the two entities come together at this place. And that's why we've had a joint group working on it, because community development is really about those businesses and that privately held property, and Parks and Community Services is really about the parks and the trails. So it will be a joint effort.
Does anyone else have any clarifying questions? Let's open public comment. Do we have anyone in the audience, Christy, who would like to make a public comment about the walking district presentation draft?
Yes, we do have one in the audience. So let me bring up my timer. One moment.
Hello.
One moment here. And it's going to be caller and user 1.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me? Okay. So I am speaking from like a future owner perspective. Not that I will buy the area, but as the public, I'm participating as like a prospective homeowner. Okay, now you know where my perspective is coming from. I think that this is truly just a major disturbance to homeowners when the presenter said that this is a collaboration I don't know how that can be a collaboration when the project isn't even built. The homeowners aren't even in, so they don't have a voice. Essentially, these are cooperation with the developer, and the developer is eager to get this done so they can recover their capital. They have to listen to you. I just think that it sounds like such an overkill. Imagine you're the one who is living in those spaces. You're not going to feel so disturbed. Okay, maybe many of you are rich people. You actually live in single family homes, so you can't really know what I'm talking about. Let me explain to you. I live in a townhome, and the private pathway that the presenter just described, it's no more than 6 feet. And that path is no more than 20 feet from my living room window. You can literally hear each other, and you can literally like see each other's like eyelashes. And imagine there are so many people who you're going to be bringing in from Walnut Creek, you know, maybe even Dublin if they can walk really long, and they're going to be in your living space that is marked private, and it should be no loitering, no trespassing. I don't know what you guys are like. I'm sorry. I don't see how that can be legal, honestly, because you're invading into a jurisdiction that is not yours, first of all. And then second of all, I want to say that I'm offended what you guys before said about the vandalism or the Scarecrow that is coming from our families. When you are bringing so many walkers from other communities, they could be the vandalism. They could be the vandals. Why do you assume that it's our community? Maybe that's why the participants have dropped from our city, because they realize that there are a lot of people who are not from our community and they don't feel safe. Please think about that. This is not like, you know, I'm sure you must be a great designer, a great artist, but it has to be down to earth, livable. It cannot be a Rapunzel's tower where Rapunzel doesn't need to eat, drink, go potty, and wash her hair. Thank you.
Christy, do we have any other public comment?
No, we do not.
I'll close public comments.
Oh,
I'd
I'm
like-
sorry. I take that back. Jerry and Engine would like to speak. So one moment. Would you like me to bring him in as a panelist? Is that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yes.
Yeah, Jerry Engen is with Bishop Branch.
Yes.
I'm bringing him in now.
Okay, great.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Jerry.
Yeah, I'm more of a stakeholder than really than a public. So thank you for promoting me into the meeting. So I wanted to take the opportunity to thank Stephanie and the staff and Kathy and the planning staff. They did a great job in pulling this walking district together. I think the graphics and the plans are easy to follow. They're well thought through. I've sat in all of the stakeholder meetings and heard all of the comments from the various stakeholders, and it's very well captured and thought through. I think this would be a great amenity to San Ramon. You know, there was we got some really good comments from the planning commissioners last night. One of the comments I thought was really insightful was, you know, in order to implement and effectuate the amount of artwork that could be spread out that would really make this walking district, you know, more enjoyable, would be potentially to take a look at the way the arts fees are collected and implemented, and that, like, there's a lot of projects that are required to do art on site and nobody ever really sees it. Nobody knows what it is. I think there's one at a Home Depot that's in some corner somewhere that nobody really even sees. And so the idea would be, what if you just redirected those funds or that artwork to be just deployed throughout the whole walking district, which would create a really wonderful experience. And instead of it all being on the back of private development, it could be a public-private partnership where those fees that are collected from the private development could be, you know, done in a way that maybe they don't. And there's a lot of projects that just donate fee because they can't fit it on their site, or there's no great place for artwork. But maybe that stuff can be looked at and made part of the walking district. I thought that was really a great, insightful thought. So as one of the large stakeholders, of course, you know, we thought about and feel it's really important to create beautiful walking areas and making this whole core area of the city very walkable and bicycle friendly. And we thought long and hard about that as we implemented the design guidelines and the design approach to City Walk. Summerhill Homes, who is building the 400 single family homes on BR6, also did a great job in incorporating that thought process and bringing the connectivity in through the community. And so not only do we have these great parkways that surround the development, along Camino Ramon and Bishop, but we got many, ways and opportunities to bring walking in through the communities and walking along the public streets and the streets along the parks. And so there'll be a great variety of walking experiences. It will be different walking in the Great Park as opposed to walking through City Walk's master plan or walking through Summerhill's master plan or development. And so it's really, I think, going to be a terrific opportunity for the city to get, implemented over time. And I'm here obviously for any questions you might have of me as it relates to much of the district sitting in Bishop Ranch.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jerry. I'd like to open this up to the commissioners for feedback. I'd like to go first. Commissioner Keniston Lee, I see your hand.
I was trying to hold off. I was gonna not go first. Okay. All right, I'll kick it off. Thank you, Stephanie. I think the plan is generally very well done, very well researched, well organized, and well presented. So thank you. So let's launch from a perspective of positivity because there's some really good stuff in there. There are a couple of things that I particularly appreciate: the attention to safety, the wayfinding signage, and your approach to that. The fact that you all recognize the need for the walking district to support programming for all ages and abilities. I am, as a Parks and Community Services Commissioner, I'm super excited about and I'm sure I see Kathy smiling because I think there's such tremendous potential for effective recreational programming with this walking district. I love the thought that's been given to the loops and the routes and the layering to meet the needs of folks of different ages and different abilities. I think that's fantastic. One concrete suggestion, Jerry talked a little bit about the artwork. Other communities have large interactive murals, say Wings, for example, where kids and people take their pictures in front of them. I would love us to do that. I think that would draw some of the younger people into the walking district. I love the idea. It sort of goes along with that value of keeping the walking district interesting, something that I think would be amazing. I would encourage a diligent focus on connecting the walking district to the idea of connecting us with nature. If you've read the Parks Master Plan, and Stephanie, I'm sure you have, I'm sure Jerry has, you see that we're really committed to, even though we have a new urban area for us, we're very connected to nature, and that's really important to us. Okay, so that's the good stuff. Now, my concern lies with execution. So the plan really shines until you get to the section on execution, which is lukewarm, a little lukewarm, and a little lacking. So it's like you go through and you read the plan and you're all excited and you're like, this is amazing, this is awesome. And then it's kind of a wah-wah. Now, I understand that this is considered to be a visionary document. I do understand that. But I would suggest, highly recommend that we strengthen the language in the execution portion and give it some more teeth. Even still being a visionary document, I think we could probably expand the execution portion of the plan. There's one particular section, I think it's page 109 of our packet, and I quote, it talks about projects that, depending on site constraints, may occur with new development or redevelopment. I think that's a phrase that we could strengthen. I don't know if we want to say something like, we require developers to make every effort to help us achieve this vision, this walking district vision. I'm not suggesting a specific language, but I am suggesting that it needs a little more oomph in it. We are very fortunate that we have the Jerry Engans, the Sunsets, and the Summerhills of the world, who that whole process of talking through BR6, if I recall correctly, the right developer and the right project, it was so cooperative. It was so collaborative. And I think there was such good stuff that came out of there, but we cannot rely on the fact that that's always going to happen. And so therefore what municipalities have to do is rely on the founding documents, the visionary documents, or the policies, the ordinances, the plans, whether they be general or specific. Let's see, there were a couple other points I wanted to make. Along those lines of kind of giving it a little more teeth in the document, the actual plan, on page 108, excuse the chime, on page 108 of the packet, you guys reference public and private partnerships with a bullet list of things that could be potentially done by these private entities. I didn't see a bullet point that simply says development plans. And it seems like there's some pretty lukewarm things in there, you know, and I think that's the meat and the potatoes, really. So, and Stephanie, I may be off base with what the intent of that section was, but if in fact that's the intent, to show what the possibilities are of how the private sector outside of our municipal jurisdiction can handle, I think that needs to be in there. My process of considering this item has been to review the materials provided to us, do some reflection. And I did watch the Planning Commission last night, so I got to see you, Stephanie, give that presentation again. I did listen to everybody's feedback, and I heard the Planning Commissioners weigh in on the item. Two of their comments really resonated with me. One was Commissioner Marks suggesting that the plan be more prescriptive. I agree with that. And secondly, I concurred with Commissioner Alpert, who suggested that we get updates on what's happening. And I'm sure you guys would not be, adverse to that. So the largely, this is going to fall, I think, within planning as we develop more, as we do more redevelopment in that Bishop Ranch area. My hope is that all the policy guiding plans, the general and specific plans, the Parks Master Plan, sort of mirror that strong spirit and commitment to the walking district. Part of that is us really relying on staff to execute that portion of it, so that everything is really supporting each other and we're giving that same message of the importance of the walking district to our community. And I guess finally, just sort of wrapping up, we need to understand the dynamics of private development in a municipal setting. We need to understand, that there are certain realities when you're working with housing requirements, when you're being sensitive to city core resident privacy. I think that is something we should take into consideration, but we really need to be decisive and steadfast in our work to make the walking district vision a reality. So I think part of that, we need to take a hard look at whether harder policy options are available to us in this regard. And if we are committed to simply putting forth a visionary statement, a visionary document, let's give it some teeth. Let's let it shine in terms of our perspective on the importance of the walking district. So that was a lot, sorry, but this is important. So thank you for listening.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Lopez Lucy.
Well, thank you. Your presentation was very good. And I too, being a person that's the liaison to the planning, I have also listened to it last night, and very intriguing and very, I think it's just a wonderful idea. The creations and what you've done and put together is amazing. But I think that one of my issues was the timeline, and was who was going to be handling it, how we could all come together and that we get along with each other and put our foot forward of issues that we want. So I see, to me, that it's probably, I think, the largest thing I see that in going in the future, because there were going to be so many different people, companies apartments and townhomes and etc. in there. So that's my issue. I think it's a wonderful presentation, and it gives us an idea of exactly what was going to happen. And I think it's wonderful that we can see that we can enhance all of our walking districts and all that. You can bring in not only adults, but children with you, and you can have interactions with each other. So I'm very favorable. I think it's a great program. And again, I think that we just need to be sure that we know who's guiding and making the rules along the way. So that's my concern, but I think it's a great plan. So thank you for all the hard work that everybody has done on this.
Commissioner Dorlick.
Great, thank you very much. So a couple of things. First of all, of course, the median buffer zones are important and excellent. I mean, that's part of any kind of walkable solution, to have that buffer zone between the traffic and et cetera. So that's very important to have in there. Was there any consideration in taking, at least in the future, the walking zone up Bollinger? We have the golf course right there, and we have the Crow Canyon restaurant and the microbrewery right there, which could also be, considered a destination point from a retail and a business standpoint. And then it also extends, at least maybe from a gesture standpoint or a symbolic standpoint, a bit more to the east, and may even encourage some people with a large parking lot, which will bring me to my next point, up at the Crow Canyon area there, to park there and walk down with that. So just a suggestion. Don't know if that was even, a consideration or not. But of course, that does extend a lot of walkable areas along the golf course, up to the restaurant, and does, at least, as I said, symbolically, kind of extend a hand to the Doherty Valley. Which gets me to my other point, which is parking. So do we have any kind of count? I mean, I know we have a count at City Center. I know we've got the, parking structure at BR3 and at 2600. What are the number of spaces that are there? And I'm going to assume that the residents aren't going to be utilizing those spaces because they're going to have their own parking areas. Correct me if I'm wrong. But, we, as pointed out in the report, San Ramon's walkability score is 24. We are car dependent. It's the only reason we need a bridge over Bollinger Canyon is because it's 6 to 8 lanes wide. Same thing with Crow Canyon. So, I mean, this is just the nature of suburban development from post-World War II to, now. That's how it worked. That's how it works. That was the scenario. That was the metric. So how many parking spaces do we have? Because besides from the residents, everybody's going to be driving here as a destination point. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but with a 24, I live on top of the hill on Bollinger. Maybe I'll walk down and not take the car. I only take the car if I have a parking space, right? So is there additional parking? Are there a number of spaces that we have in mind as a ratio to, expected visitors? So that's one key question. And then I just want, before you answer, I just want to make the comment. This is an urban style environment. So you can't think of the walkways in front of the brownstones or the townhomes or the homes there, the residents there, as some private, walkway. I mean, you got to think of it in terms of Brooklyn Heights. Your house comes out to the street and people walk along the street. You got to think of it in terms of Georgetown in Washington, D.C., or, downtown Denver with the 16th Street Mall. These are the kind of visions you need to have in your mind. So I'm not worried about that because the residents that go there are looking for that kind of urban feel. So I don't think that's going to be an issue with the residents. But I would like to hear some comments or some feedback on the parking.
This is the question that Lauren always answers for me. But there is we did not do a specific count for parking. We did look at places where people might launch from, such as Central Park. Are there other areas like the parking structure or potential for shared use parking arrangements for some of the parking that does exist within the zone? I mean, if you actually look currently and sort of squinted, there's actually a high volume of parking spaces within this area. As it starts to redevelop, that will change a little bit, but that's why we were thinking of also the importance of connecting with transit, so that you're layering with the transit system, you're layering with bike and connecting people from the Iron Horse Trail over. But where are those destination points that, because as you acknowledged, it is a suburban community and a car-centric community right now, although we're trying to change that within this area, there will need to be those zones as well.
So, I mean, that's why I would encourage you to look at, but also, going up the hill a little bit. Now, I don't know if the consideration was that, it's tougher for people to walk up the hill on Bollinger. It's not an easy walk. And so it might not, be as ubiquitous access as you want it to be, which, primarily you're flat, throughout this entire area. But, engaging that business up there, may make a lot of additional parking available up there where people will park and, maybe grab lunch there and then walk down or go to the city centers. It's just extending it. So just as an idea. And again,
I might be able to add a little bit.
I was going to say symbolic to that east-west, kind of like a connection that we keep trying to make. I'm sorry, Jerry, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Commissioner. I can add a little bit to Stephanie. As we build out City Walk, of course, all of those internal streets will have on-street parking, which is meant for visitors and people coming through, to visit a park or a neighborhood. We're adding additional on-street parking along Bishop Drive, along the entire lake area. And of course, there are the parking structures and the other office building parking lots. And my presumption is that the majority of the people that are coming to walk will be walking, on weekends or after work or, so not during the prime time of people working that's occupying those spaces. So they would be ample spaces throughout the community, I think, for people to park on weekends and after work to utilize that walking district, along with the on-street parking, which is wide open to the public there. So while there hasn't been a study of how many people may use it and how many parking spaces there are, my intuition seems to think that there'd be enough parking. And we'd love to have you park at City Center and start there and get a refreshment to get juiced up and then go walk your district and end there so you can refresh yourself. So there's a lot of parking there, and there's the overflow parking at the 2600 lot there for City Center. So,
well, Jerry, you know me, I always start at City Center.
Good.
How about our student commissioner, John Thanamalai? So you've joined us. Welcome to our meeting. Do you have any comments?
Hi, thank you. No, I just came late because I had a final for my statistics course. I don't have a very informed opinion, but I'm just grateful to hear everyone's opinions on the plan.
Great. Well, glad you could join us. Commissioner Mitra, any feedback?
No, actually, I was just wondering, and this is my first presentation for the working districts, and thanks, Stephanie and Jerry, for the wonderful presentation. And this is my first, so I'm just learning right now. Probably next time I'll have a lot more questions, but I did have one question that Commissioner Dawlich asked. So I'm just thinking that, okay, if I want to use the walking district, I live in up in Bollinger. So what option do I have? I have to drive down there, right? So one point we are saying that we want people to drive less, but then my option is I have to drive down there just to use the walking district. So again, maybe I'm missing something, but for me, it's a conflicting thing. I don't want to drive, but just to use the walking district, I have to drive. So just maybe I'm missing something here.
Well, I don't know if that was a question, but it could be part of a larger system, in terms of tying in if you wanted to bike to it as well, but that lends towards the bike master plan improvements coming in. So, it's many, many things tied together.
Mhm.
Well, and it is positioned as a destination point.
Yeah.
It's a destination
Yeah.
recreation point. So it would be like you would drive to a park trail and park and then take a hike. It'd be like you're parking, you're driving to a retail area and you're going to walk around, with the family. So it's hard to, extend it unless we have that fabled electric trolley that's supposed to go down the middle of, Bollinger Canyon throughout Doherty Valley and Windermere and down the hill. Other than that, it's going to be it's going to be a park. It's going to be a drive-in park.
Right.
Focused on the city's downtown core.
Yeah.
Commissioner Lopez Lucy, your hand came back up.
Yeah, I had a question too, because I'm up at the top of the Bollinger and I'm thinking, have we ever thought of connection of transportation from that area up there down to the city walk so that we wouldn't have to drive? I would have to drive too. I wouldn't mind walking down, but I certainly would never make it back up because that's a really steep climb. And I wouldn't do it on a bike either because I'm not that good a bike rider. But I'm thinking, would we think of increasing some transportation to the area that goes to Bollinger, and that we do have the restaurant there? Well, there's more restaurants. There's a couple of golf courses and everything. So that would extend it out. So that is something to think about, but also maybe instead of us driving down there individually, there would be some transportation provided from that area that we could make use of and then enjoy the city walk. That would be very interesting and all, but it does create a problem that yes, we will have to drive down there to take part. And I don't mind going to the civic center and eating and whatever, having fun there too. So, but that is a thing that maybe we should look into, is it's more transportation.
I might mention one quick comment in regards to that. Uber and Lyft are really the way that a lot of people now move short distances, like from a hill like that or from their home, because they don't want to drive. Maybe they want to go have a cocktail or something. So it's a much more prevalent. I love hearing about transportation options and thinking more about transportation and how we could improve our transportation network. So that aside, in the short term, until we have that, that's another potential solution.
Commissioner Kennison-Lee.
Yeah, I was just going to echo what Commissioner Carol Lopez Lucy said. And I think that I have this vague recollection that the idea of a Doherty Valley based shuttle has been batted around a bit. And this seems like a good argument for why that, would be a really useful tool, is to have something that has key stoppage points throughout the valley and a schedule and gets folks down into the core center. So the core city center. So I think you got something there, Carol.
Okay, well, I'm going to bring us home here. Yeah, I love this plan. I'm really grateful that Design Workshop has led this, because you know us pretty well from working with our Parks and Community Services Master Plan. And I'm really glad we were able to incorporate all the stakeholders and get everyone's participation from the city. It's been I think a great process putting this together. I think it's organized, thorough, and graphically pleasing, and it's pretty easy to follow. But a couple things that I just want to mention about what I think we need to keep in mind to make it successful. We need ownership and leadership on who owns this plan. And that was my question out of the gate. And I think that Commissioner Kennison-Lee really nailed it by talking about execution. We've got to have ownership. And part of that is, really having a very clear vision statement that is really focused on priority and prescriptive for the developers that Sunset will be working with. And I want that to be, really clear that this is part of our vision for this downtown core, that you take into consideration all the things in the master plan for the walking district. There needs to be a real commitment and a focus to accomplish these goals as stated. And I think that I also agree with we need to monitor the progress. I'd like to see as new projects will come up. I'm sure if there's, I think that we should be hearing how things are going, and Parks and Community Services as well as the Planning Commission. I also think it's important that I think one of the biggest things that kind of set me off when I first read it was that it looked like we were using already existing sidewalks and making them wider, and they were already, along the roadways. I want to make sure that we don't lose sight of the internal trails that the grassroots walking district group was so focused on, of bringing people into the downtown core. And so I want to make sure as we do development that we have a stronger vision statement around that. And I don't want it to be so linear. I know you mentioned that it's diagrammatic, and that's, anyway, I just really want to see some playfulness and some movement with meandering pathways. The second thing that I think is most important is make it interesting. I'm a firm believer, if you build it, they will come. And I think City Center is a good example of that. When it was first built, it was kind of quiet and wasn't really taking off. And everyone's like, it's expensive, this and that. Now it's such a hub. I mean, you can't even get a parking spot there on the weekends. So we built it and people are coming. And so I really want to give a lot of accolades to Sunset for, working with the city and to, making this wonderful big city center available to our community. And I want to see that expanded through this walking district. I think it's important that we focus on the walkability best practices, making sure things are safe, comfortable, interesting. And I just also wanted to throw out there too, thinking, we're talking some visionary strategies here about bringing people in so that they don't have to drive. There's a lot of different things that we could be discussing, but one other idea that came to mind is Camino Ramon. I've been thinking about Executive Parkway on Camino Ramon in between Executive Parkway and Bishop, and what an opportunity that could be as this walking district really expands and develops to create a slow street. And a lot of communities are doing that. Berkeley does it, San Francisco, where they close down the street on a Sunday. And so they allow more movement of walkers and bicyclers and families to have more space to spread out. So I want to just throw that out there, that could be something that we think of long-term as this walking district develops. And want to make sure that we make opportunities for people to dominate and not cars. And that's why the internal trails are so important. And again, if you build it, they will come. So we need to really think about marketing the walking district. We talked a little bit about where people would park if they came there. Let's not lose sight of, putting some additional signage perhaps at the parking garage at City Center, at other places where parking could take place, to remind people that that's there. So not just these hubs that were on the map, but I think to really think big picture, to really engage as many folks as we possibly can. And I agree wholeheartedly with everything that the fellow commissioners have shared. And I'm proud of this. And I really just want to make sure that we go about this right, and we make this as robust as we possibly can. So that is all I have to add. And I don't think we're not looking for a motion tonight. You were looking for feedback. Is that correct? And then you will take this forward to the city council. So again, thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Sunset. Thank you, Jerry, for being here and answering the questions. And I think we're with those additions and taking in the comments that the Planning Commission and the Parks Commission shared, I think we're onto something really, really special. So thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Chair Oslin, I would just like to make one small announcement, and this is for the public, that I would like to announce that speakers may only speak one time during public comment per item. So if a speaker has already provided public comment, that speaker will not be called upon a second time for the same item. I just wanted to make that announcement.
Great. Thank you, Christy.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 9, staff reports. 9.1, recreation program and community services report. Kathy.
Well, hopefully you all got a chance to take a look at the rec report. There are lots of great things going on. Specifically, I might draw your attention to the Eagle Scout project that happened at Crook Canyon Gardens, as we had a speaker on that topic. And so there are things moving forward out there, and we'll be soon moving forward with some plans, and you'll be involved in all of that. Also, you could see some of the things going on at the farm, and people just kind of coming back here after COVID and starting to get more involved and engaging with our programs. So does anybody have any questions on any of the items in the rec report?
Commissioner Keniston-Lee.
I just wanted to say, I love seeing scouting, whether it's Boy Scouts or Girl Scouting related projects. And I think it's akin to the fact that we have Parks Make Life Better days and that we utilize our community and build our volunteer base. But I would encourage us to continue to be open to those scouting projects. I think they're a great resource and it helps them achieve goals. And that's very exciting.
Yeah, and I appreciate your comments. In case it's a great plug I can make because you brought it up. On the city website, we have a page dedicated to Eagle Scout Awards and Gold Awards, and it has the entire process and forms that any scout would need in order to propose a project. So
yeah, I love that.
Anything else from anyone on the rec report?
Okay, 9.2, maintenance and operations report.
And this, I see Scott Rennick's in the audience. If you have any questions on any of the items on here, I'm sure he would be happy to pop on and answer them. But you can see some of the great work that our public services department has been doing, repairing, fixing, and generally keeping all of our parks looking gorgeous.
Commissioner Keniston-Lee.
I want to add, because I don't think it was in there, that Public Works and Sandy Martin and team, they renovated the landscaping in front of the Forest Home Farms Welcome Center. And, it's sort of experiencing a bit of a revitalization over there in terms of operations. And they went and gave it a facelift, and we're certain that's gonna make it more welcoming for people to come in and learn about the property as well as buy things. And the gift shop there funds the foundation, and so we're really grateful that happened. So it's just part of what we appreciate about our Public Works Department, taking care of our parks and facilities and making them look as great as they do. So thank you for that.
Mm-hmm. I had a couple questions, Scott, about the synthetic turf. So I saw that we had to do some repairs. Is that from age? Is it usage? Is it weather? I mean, is this something we should expect?
Well, good evening, Commissioner Oslin and fellow commissioners. Happy holidays to you all.
Thank you.
Synthetic turf is a wonderful, wonderful surface, but it takes maintenance also. And on a yearly basis, we go through and we sanitize. There's a filler that allows the fiber to stand up like normal turf. That's removed and replaced, and it's just ongoing maintenance that we do each year, and it's part of the cost of the turf originally that's built into the program when we do replacement of the turf. So that's what that is all about.
Okay. And I was wondering about graffiti. Are we seeing an increase in that? Or was this a kind of a one-off?
You're probably referring to the huge amount that was underneath the drainage culverts along Doherty
Right.
Road. It was a discovery that was made. That's obviously an area that's not frequented very much by our crews, and it was brought to our attention by somebody that was actually hiking through there, and so it had built up over a period of time, and it took quite a bit of, as you can see, quite a bit of work to mitigate that. But overall, it's an ongoing problem we have to deal with, much like any other vandalism we have through the city. So we deal with it on a daily basis, and we get it taken care of as soon as we hear about it. And the police are always called in for reports, so we have everything documented for those purposes.
Right. Well, thanks for that update.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'm not seeing any additional hands.
Chair Oslin,
Yes.
we have caller user 1, or she has her hand raised, but it has to be specific to maintenance and operations report. Do you want to allow public comment?
Sure.
Okay, one moment. Let me share my screen to bring up the timer. One moment. Okay, caller user 1, your comment has to be related to our maintenance and operation report only.
I just want to say that it's pretty disgusting that Sunset can speak anything and I cannot. I even spent $2,500 last time for an appeal. He spoke more than me. Thank you. I'm so disgusted. Good night.
Okay, we're going to move on to item 10, update on city council reports.
Thank you.
Commissioner Keniston Lee.
That's me. I almost forgot that was me for a moment there. Okay.
I didn't forget.
And I realized this is the highlight of your evening. So we'll get to that. Okay. So I attended the November 23rd City Council meeting. They actually had a public hearing and introduction of amendments to the alarm ordinance. Apparently the city is experiencing, and the police department, a problem with habitually false alarms in our city. And so there is a proposed ordinance where they would have a registration process of an alarm system. It would be a permitting type of process, and there would be false alarm fines. It doesn't sound like they want to be too terribly heavy-handed with administration of the program, but I guess at 1 year, not that long ago, there were 3,000 plus false alarms in the course of the year. So as you can imagine, it can be a bit of a drain on our resources. So they are looking at that. The ordinance is set for adoption coming up on the 14th. They also considered filling the empty space on our commission, which I know we're all eager to have that filled. They're opting for a Zoom-based candidates forum as they have in the past. It's my understanding that there are about 10 candidates. So hopefully soon, maybe January, Kathy, you think we'll see somebody? Okay. And then finally, they elected Council member Sridhar Barros to be the mayor pro tem. And so that was exciting because he comes from our group. And so we were very proud of him. And that was it.
Great, thank you. How about the Planning Commission? How about an update?
All right, I have a lot to report there on what has happened there at what they've approved and what they have, done and whatever. So the Planning Commission, since I've reported, has approved the BR6 City Village. That will go forward. And the condos and townhomes in that area have been approved. The Belmont and Valley, that's an assisted care, and that's the vacant lot there by the side of Bollinger there. and it's by BR1. It will be 177 units, and that will take all areas of care, assisted care there. That will go forward. They've approved. And last night, where former Golden Gate skating used to be, they have then approved for the for sale and rent that it's there. There will be 147 homes for sale, and there will be 16 accessory units that will be at the low rate. So those things have been approved and will move forward. Now they have looked at concept actions, the Morgan Masonry there. They came back with a lower amount of housing than they have really planned there. They came back with only 72 for sale units. And so they have sent them back on their way, then saying that it's not in compliance with the regulations for our city, and that they would have to have more housing in that area for that area. Then there is a section on Deerwood. It's almost to Bollinger. It's an old office complex. It's between two housing projects, and it's a small area. And so they have come forward that they'd like to put 57 units there for sale. And they felt it was a really good idea to do that for infill. And so they've encouraged them to come back to have an application. And the Deerwood on Apple Blossom, that's where there's a steel retaining wall and a vacant lot. And then that's where they're going to approve, like look at 53 units for housing. And then, the Rome project was the old outpost area. And they came up with 169 apartments. They had downsized the units, and that was a place that the city was recommending that have high density. There's a creek there, so there's some non-buildable place because you can't, you have to be so many feet and everything. So they've gone back to them saying that they need to come back and see if they can't get some more density in that area. And let's see, that was, of course, then they had the presentation from just what we heard also. So I'm familiar with that now. And so it's really good because it's a lot to learn and take in that area, but they have been very busy. And and then they had, let's see, they did give, there's no updating. I did let's see what they were, they did say the bridges, the crossing bridge, they feel that that's going to be completed probably in about 18 months. So that would give us some hope that we see that there. So anyway, that is the highlights from the meetings.
Great, thank you. And any update on Edac?
Yes, I do. We had a meeting today at 4 o'clock, and they have voted to have quarterly meetings instead of monthly meetings. They feel that there's some things that they need more time to produce information that they need to do, and they felt that because they do cancel a lot of meetings in between, and so they felt that the quarterly meetings would be okay. If they need to meet sooner, they will. But what they're doing right now is an economic forum discussion. They're going to have it's a questionnaire like for commercial property, to see, if the city is helping our businesses in the city, and they're seeing if there's a lot of stress. Is there questions that they need help with that the city could assist? And they want to know the vacancies. How are the vacancies going? How are the number of employees? Is signing releases in or out on a trend? And what is their status of a lease? And then they also will be talking to of these commercials will be talking with the owners or managers and brokers, and also working with the city, the chamber, and the Edac committee will be doing this. And they are helpful, want to be helpful to the businesses that we have in our community to make them more successful. And they want to also look at the development that Chappelle had originally been very active on out at Darty Valley, where the senior housing is. And they want to institute and talk with them to see if there can't be some additional items going forth out there, because they feel that the city is losing money because those people out there don't have any amenities close to them. So they're going to go down the road to Dublin, which is very close, or they have to come down the hill from Bollinger. So they feel that they're looking at that should have some development out there. And information, they just ask that people contact a webpage for on the city, that they have a lot of answers to questions that people have. And so they felt that they are wanting to work with more to increase and help businesses and commercial people in the city of San Ramon. So the next meeting will be February of 2022.
Right, thank you. How about we hear from our student commissioner, Lanamala, about teen council? What's been going on?
Okay, so we did have a kind of a short meeting in November, and we approved our support and our advertisement of Brighter Day, which is this teen talent showcase that like they promote like mental wellness, but it's a great way for like teenagers to get involved and show off their talents. We've been working with them for the last 2 years. We also, I just gave an update on the video project, which is something we've had in the works for at least 3 years. But this year we decided to try a different approach, and we actually worked with their ambassadors on this. We're gonna have 3 kind of videos working, have them in the works, and then hopefully combine them at the end. But we want one specific on cultural diversity in San Ramon, one on environmental like sustainability, and one on like social issues and social justice. And it wouldn't be like political issues, it would just be like, what are teens doing in the community and how are they addressing issues they're passionate about? So that would be like our student action page, and just all the wonderful teenagers and how they're getting involved. We wanted to show them off. Our environmental sustainability one, a lot like Rio Cross, who was here, I introduced him for OTCA, but it was just all these people who are taking these initiatives to help the earth, and we just wanted to highlight that, as well as highlight our trails, highlight our park cleanups, and the cultural diversity. Obviously, our upcoming events with the city, we hope to get videos there, and then just a bunch of seeing our San Ramon teens just work to promote their own cultures. So we just have these 3 kind of ideas going that's going to give us a more of a narrow focus on the videos, and those videos we want to put them on our teen council website. If we do get a San Ramon Teen Council Instagram approved, we want to use it there. Maybe send it to schools. But honestly, it's just to raise awareness for what teenagers are doing in the community, what teens can do, and how they can get involved, as well as just promote the Teen Council. So that's just very exciting. It's a great way for us to collaborate with our ambassadors. And then our Teen Council subcommittee updates just gave their ideas for what they're going to do for the next 2 months, because we're not going to have a December meeting since finals is really stressful and usually we have low turnouts anyway. And the other thing that we decided to approve and kind of discuss was these things called focus groups, or we were just discussing them. We wanted to see if we could talk to the leadership students at each high school and middle school and see how we can reach out to teenagers and see what they want from the city. Maybe like obviously not like a very a policy defined idea, but maybe what direction we can spin teen council in for the next year and next 2 years, when my role is passed down to Anya as like the vice chair right now, and kind of give a new direction to teen council. So we have some new projects coming up. Yeah.
Wow, sounds like a lot going on. Thank you for your update.
Thank you.
Commissioner Mitra, how about libraries? What's going on?
There was no library meeting last week, so there was no update.
Okay, thank you.
It's a once in a quarter, so no meeting.
Okay, we'll hear from you.
Yep.
Probably in February then.
Right.
And how about Commissioner Dorlick, Arts?
So the Arts Advisory Committee met last month, and there were two agenda items. One was the approval of a cultural growth fund for the Korean performance, and they have been a active user of the Cultural Growth Fund, which is fantastic in presenting their culture to the community. So that was approved. And then also, which we'll see, I guess, in January, the beginnings of the annual report for the Arts Advisory Committee was started up. So one other thing I wanted to mention is that the San Ramon Cricket Association had another marvelous youth tournament over the Thanksgiving holiday, finishing up at Patelco Park in Pleasanton with closing ceremonies and the awards. And though we were in Pleasanton, the San Ramon team took first place. So that was nice. There were 4 or 5 international teams. One of them the second time that they've participated. And also there was a board member from the U.S. Cricket Association that was there as well. So the Tri-Valley and the San Ramon Cricket Association in particular is getting a lot of recognition in the sport. It was well attended. I believe there were 17 teams this year, and the closing ceremonies on Sunday evening, the 28th of November, was well attended by the mayors, and County Supervisor Halbert was there. So some good recognition of the accomplishment. And kudos out to Ramesh and the board and all the parents that support the players and the organization.
Great. Wow. Congratulations. This is so exciting. Wow. I'm going to give a brief report on the Senior Citizens Advisory Committee. We had our meeting on the 6th on Monday, and we discussed the senior needs assessment timelines. You're going to see a survey going out soon, and that was kind of the major focus of the meeting. And then yesterday, I had the pleasure of joining Kathy and the Open Space Advisory Committee members and East Bay Regional Parks. And we all had a lovely tour of the laborers camp and the connectivity of the trails out in the open space there. And what a beautiful place that is. It was really, really a wonderful experience for me. We had a lot of fog. We were planning on hiking up the overlook, but we decided not to because we wouldn't see anything if we got up there. It was probably pretty muddy, but it was a great way to really see the opportunities that we have in front of us as far as the trails connecting in the open space. So it was great. And that's all I have. Where are we now? I've lost my pages, Kathy. I think, what do we have next? We have commission. We are on item 12, commission member items. Anybody have anything that they want to add for the good of the commission?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I would like to encourage all of you to come to the Holiday on the Farm Saturday. It's from 11 to 3. And I know, Heidi, I think you'll be working in the gift shop, won't you? I believe. Nope, you're not going to work this one. Okay.
No, I'm there on the 18th. I'll be picking up a child from college Saturday.
Okay.
Ooh.
Okay. So anyway, we have Heidi working there, and we have Julia, who will be assisting us in the food booth. And so we'll be having hot dogs and chips and Christmas cookies, donuts, hot chocolate, and hot cider and all. So we're hoping that we have I'm sure
Nope.
they'll have a good turnout because it's been increasing there for each week. So anyway, we think we're prepared, and we're also selling used Christmas ornaments that will be in the barn. And so just come and have fun. You can visit with Santa, see the magician moving around. There'll be caroling. So I think it'll be a fun day for the family. So I would encourage you to bring your friends and come join us.
No, no dachshunds and schnapps.
No,
This is a family oriented, basically towards the children,
Okay.
We just shift very easily, And then you can put on your agenda that the crab feed will be Friday, January 28th, 2022. So you can save yourself.
2022.
Yeah,
Save yourself
right around the corner.
Okay, I've got an announcement.
Yes.
Yes, I want to wish everybody very happy holidays.
Yippee.
I want to. Oh, well, we can all do it together, and that it's always a privilege and an honor to meet with my fellow commissioners, and want to thank you for your great input and for your just enthusiasm and passion and caring for our community.
Thank you, Commissioner Dorlick, and I second that. Happy holidays to all of you, and hope you enjoy your time off if you have any, and your families if you could be with them. So with that, I will adjourn the meeting. I have
one more announcement. One more announcement.
Okay.
For all you Matrix fans, the new Matrix movie is starting at the lot on the 22nd, I believe it is, 22nd or 23rd. So if you're looking for the number 4 in the Matrix, get your tickets now. I'll be there on the 26th. Got my tickets for the 26th already. I don't want to be shut out of that first couple of days. I'm going to bring my red pill and my blue pill.
Oh gosh.
All right. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.